it's trade season, when it's free agent season, when it's draft season, you never know who's going to pop in to the Kings flagship station. And Sactown Sports Kings insiders, Frankie Cartoscelli and Brenden Nunes, we had to get them in here ASAP, okay, to discuss the trade that just went down. Sasha Vezenkov and Davion Mitchell. Chris messed me up with the Donovan earlier.
Don't you put that on me.
That's right. For Jalen McDaniels from Toronto, also the 45th pick going to Toronto. So out with Davion, out with Off Night, also out with Sasha Vezenkov. Thank you. It was a short time, but we thank you for the time that you spent with Sacramento. And now a lot of people are saying, is this the move before the move, guys? But we had Sam and Tito hanging out during the break. We are going to do that giveaway, and then we are going to break down Frankie and Brendan's thoughts. Sam, what you got for us?
Am I on?
You're on, Sam.
Oh, yeah. I'm from Rhode Island. I'm calling from Rhode Island.
Oh,
awesome.
Let me tell you guys, you got something very good in Devin Carter. I was seeing on Twitter some Kings fans were not all that happy.
Mm-hmm.
Positionally, I can understand that, but I mean, there's no part of his game that is not amazing. I mean, people were complaining he's short. He's got a 6'8" wingspan. He probably is the best defensive guard on the Kings as of today.
Wow.
He's going to get playing time because of how good of a defender he is. And I mean, he shot like 38% from three.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to get a lot of playing time, and you're going to be very impressed by him.
Thank you for the call, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Great stuff.
Sam
Enjoy your time
Rhode
in Rhode
Island.
Island. I hear it's beautiful this time of
Do
year.
not hear that.
Well, I definitely do. It's Rhode Island.
It's pretty nice out there.
This is the time.
I can honestly say I don't think I've ever heard anything about Rhode Island.
This is the time. And because of that move in drafting Devin Carter, who is going to be a dog on this Kings team, we said, Monty, you got too many guards. He says, okay, I hear you. Bet. The Sacramento Kings are traded Davion Mitchell and Sasha Vezenkov to the Toronto Raptors for Jalen McDaniels, 26 years old, same rangy type of player as his younger brother, but we're trying to see what he's going to be. It hasn't worked in Toronto, and they weren't very good. How will it work out in Sacramento? Or is this a chess move, not a checkers move? Tito, what you got for us?
First off, guys, get bent. No, I'm just kidding.
That's crazy. Same to you.
No. I mean, I just saw, all the, promotion last night on Twitter. You guys, I don't know, you guys probably aren't huge college basketball fans, especially here on the East Coast, the Big East. What we think is the preeminent college basketball conference in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a Providence fan my entire life. My dad went there. I went there. I've watched a ton of games. Devin Carter he's it. He is a guy that you guys now have that is going to be a leader. I know he's just going to be a rookie coming in, but give him a year or two. He is everything you could ask for in a player. He plays relentlessly, plays hard, especially on defense. The offense obviously coming along. We had our best player, Bryce Hopkins, go down with a knee injury this year. And, we put the offensive load on Devin. And you can look and you can watch film from last year, how many times at the end of the shot clock, Devin got the ball and was just kind of looking around, like, what do I do? And it was, buddy, you take the ball, you go to the basket, you pull up from three, and he answered the bell more times than not. He is a dog. He is someone that is going to absolutely be a problem for other teams. He's going to be the type of guy that other teams are like, I hate this guy. But if he was on my team, he'd be my favorite player. So consider yourselves lucky. You got a good one. I know you guys didn't have much background, but he is going to be a solid player in the NBA for many, many years.
Hold on, Tito. Our insider has a question for you.
I got a quick question for you. You said you've been a Providence guy a long time. The other guy I think of is Chris Dunn, and obviously differences between the two, but I'd love to hear your perspective as somebody that watched him a lot, as the differences between the guys and kind of the hype of both of them coming in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, Chris Dunn was obviously more of a pure point guard, pass first type guy, could obviously score too. But the defensive comparisons are pretty much the same. I think that's why he who shall not be named, who's the coach of Georgetown, recruited him. So, he's got a real high motor on offense. He's going to be diving for loose balls. Same thing as Chris Dunn did. I just think Devin's offensive game might be a little bit more polished at this point. But the same type of rangy athlete, explosive, type of guy that could, play, defensive back on an NFL team as well. He's got, the intangibles that, people really can't measure. And the fact that he fell all the way, I thought he was going in the top 10. I thought maybe even the top 5, like Chris Dunn did. I'm a bit of a homer, so that's what I was hoping for. But, I'm happy he ended up with you guys. You guys are going to be happy with him. But yeah, I mean, obviously Chris Dunn has had his troubles in the NBA, coming in and out of teams and whatnot. I think it was more his offense wasn't fully there. I think Devin's a little bit further along offensively.
Thanks so much, Tito. Great stuff.
Our Providence insider.
Yeah, Fryer. That's what they say. Yeah. Thanks, Tito, so much. Call in anytime. All right, guys.
Things.
All right, guys. Now, before we get into the trade, and like we said, Woj bomb happened how long ago, Chris? 43 minutes ago, according to Woj.
Which, by the way, sorry to interrupt you, Sean added that they are also trading, Sean Cunningham, that they are also trading a future Portland second-round pick in the deal. The 2025 second-round pick that is Portland's that they own. So the 45th pick, Sasha, Davion, and a 2025 second, that is Portland's.
So I want to ask what this says about Davion and Sasha's value. Okay, because I want to start there, but let's get Simone working right now. The Sacramento Kings are hosting the 6th annual California Classic Summer League on July 6th, 7th, and July 9th with an expanded lineup of teams preparing for NBA action. Chris and I are going to get you in the building. Call right now at 916-339-1140 and lock up this family 4-pack of 3-day passes. Looking for caller number
15 minus 7 is 8.
Caller number 8.
Wow.
15, Davion
and Sasha.
Wow.
Yes. Come on, guys. Come on.
Caller number 8. Caller number 8.
Some Kobe
916-339-1140. 916-339-1140. 916-339-1140. Caller number 8. Caller number 8 as we say goodbye to Sasha Vezenkov. And off night, Davion Mitchell, trust your work. Okay, guys, let's start here. What does this say about Davion and Sasha's value or lack thereof? Does it say more about that or more about the fact that Monty, and I see Chris's face here, we understand the salary dump aspect of it, but you still could have got more back? Or what did they see in Jalen McDaniels? Something, explain it to us like we're 4 years old.
Please.
Well, I think that it's pretty self-explanatory, I guess, the value of these guys. There's really no value here, right? I mean, we're dumping salary and it's taking picks to do so.
It's nuts.
And if you really think about it, what are these guys, what were they providing to the team last year? Either of those guys.
But Brenden, have you looked up Jalen's stats?
No, I know. Jalen is not, I don't think Jalen honestly really matters in this deal. Jalen is not good.
He is now Kessler Edwards on this team, I think.
He's Mo Harkless, but younger.
Of a deep bench forward in a pinch where whether it's injuries or whether it's, you trying to find something on any given night, whether it's a Devin Booker's cooking you, that's a guy on the bench that you throw out there when you need to try something else. The fact of the matter is that the Kings needed to create space, both on the roster and both financially, more so financially. That's why last night my question was, you're using that pick, which there was a question if they're going to use that pick or not. When you bring in that 13th overall pick, you add that salary to the fold too. That made me question, okay, are they going to use this 45th pick? I was very skeptical they're going to use the 45th pick at all because that's another player and more salary you have to add into the mix. So if you think about it, the value was low. Even though Davion improved his three-point shooting, there were some flashes last year where I think at the beginning of the year we sat here at this table and talked about how Davion might be on the verge of becoming a bona fide bust.
Well, I think he is now.
Sure. But he, I think
based on for the Kings, based on
sure, he was a top 10 pick.
It is officially official with this, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He might not be a bust in he can unbust later,
I feel like
unbust.
Bust to me is a strong term.
I think that he still can go to a team and be a rotational player, and he was a rotation player for the Kings. He shot like 40% from free.
Last 10 games, averaged 23 points, shot 43% field goal percentage. 41 3-point percentage. Yeah. He averaged 9 points.
Yeah.
And he was locked down.
Those are good numbers.
One of the things that Monte McNair said yesterday when talking about Devin Carter that I think applies to these guys. He says, I think what's appealing about him is that you can put him on the floor and both ends he's going to contribute. And I think, talking with Mike Brown, we've just got to continue to find guys that can play both ends and stick on the floor no matter what the other team throws at them. Sasha and Davion both play one end of the floor. Right? Davion plays defense.
How many ends of the
Sasha
floor
plays
does
offense.
Jalen McDaniels play?
I don't think Jalen McDaniels matters in
So
this.
why does
I think
that
it's
mean
about
that they
freeing
have to
up,
get rid of the picks or their play? I mean,
it's in order to dump salary so you have more flexibility for either returning trades in a deal if you want to be able to take on more salary than you're outgoing. I think they have more flexibility with that. They were about $4 million, I think, under the first apron mark, and this frees up about 8 more. And while they do have their MLE available to them, my understanding is you can't use that MLE and sign somebody with it that would then take you over that first apron. So they were restricted in how much they could use that. I believe that this deal makes them able to use their full MLE and potentially creates a trade exception. So I kind of look at it as, and this is premature because you have to see what they do with this money, but say, like I've heard smoke around Najee Marshall, for example, in free agency. Would you rather have Najee Marshall on the MLE deal or Sasha Vezenkov, Davion Mitchell, 45th pick, and honestly, Portland's pick next year is pretty high. It's probably in the 30s, right, in the second round. But if we're talking about roster balance, like this is the way to do it. And I was big on Sasha last year coming into the year. That did not pan out. He clearly seemed unhappy. It seemed like it was probably time to move on from that. And I really don't think Davion was bringing that much.
But again, I think what is a bit surprising to us is that if you're going to dump salary, we get that. But the fact that nobody else wanted to play ball to dump salary and the best you could get is a 26-year-old who can't get on the floor, I think it's just a bit jarring that Sasha and Davion's value was that low.
Well, it's jarring, but I think maybe you have a higher idea of their value because I just don't think the value was there. I mean, clearly, I think that I know we keep saying the whole thing about it takes two to tango and Monte McNair and the Kings keep trying to find trades with these partners. Nothing's, comes to fruition, but that just seems to be the matter of the fact that no one wants to play ball and make deals for, of higher value than the ones that are there right now. And the highest priority for the Kings right now was to create space. And they did that. That was the goal of this draft. It wasn't to bring in talent in return for Sasha and Davion. It was to create space so that you can bring in talent and you have the flexibility to either, whether it be to use the MLA or use free agency money because free agency begins on Sunday, or have more flexibility in a trade. Because as we know, they're looking to make a trade right now.
Yeah.
They're the old reliable, the Corolla package, like you guys call it.
Yep.
This could help maybe make things easier for them to add in more salary. You never know.
I think this kind of has to be an incomplete until we see what we do with it.
Right.
What they do with it.
This to me
it's a
just
wait and
reminds
see.
me a lot of the Nick Stauskas salary dump to me. Like, I just don't think you have to lose a trade just because you have a goal in mind. To me, this is them just saying, we really want to dump salary and we don't really care what the package is. We just want to get rid of these guys. But I don't think that means that you just have to dump them and not get anything in return. I just think in a vacuum, it's a bad deal.
Well, that one, the salary dump with Stauskas and Thompson, those guys, that was like a lot more money. And I think a first round pick was included in that too.
Yeah, sure.
Because this is second round picks. I mean,
but it's still a rotational guy, and it's a guy that you at one point had a lot of hype.
That's
in.
true.
Who's the rotational guy? Davion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was he not a part of the rotation?
Should he?
He was
That's not what the
is he
question-
part of an ideal
Well, what is
rotation?
He's going to be part of Toronto's rotation. They're going to get plenty of use out of him. They're going to get plenty of use out of Sasha. The Kings, and this is I saw Tony Zipteris on Twitter say this.
Yep.
There's 5 assets in this trade, and the Kings somehow got the worst one of them.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
How is that? But how does that mean that it's? I just don't see how that justifies. We needed to clear up space. To me, there is no way that Davion Mitchell and Sasha Vezenkov truly had this little value that you literally had to attach second round picks to it. To me, maybe it's just a sense of maybe the second round picks more are the Kings are just saying we want to get under the luxury, and Toronto's maybe saying, how bad do you want to get under the luxury? I can understand that, but I just think that the trading of the players to me is the part that just you lose me.
Well, and I would say this, and if you've been listening to the show, thank you for listening. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. Chris is not a Davion guy.
No.
Let's just make
No,
that
Right.
clear.
I remember being on here like,
Not at all.
I think he's a rotation guy.
Not at
Yeah,
all.
like,
So that's what
Not
I'm saying.
at
When you
all.
talk about value, it's
Right.
not
Yes.
as if when Frankie, you
Yeah.
say, "Oh, maybe we're overvalued." I don't think
don't
that
agree.
is.
No,
Is it
Well,
maybe more frustration as far as like when are the Kings going to be on the other end of this? Because it always is. It doesn't be the Kings that are on this end of the deal where they're dumping assets and having to take back.
I don't
the
really care
scraps.
about that. I just felt like I honestly thought that Davion would be an enticing piece to somebody. I think that the second draft is a very real thing. We traded Marvin Bagley for Trey Lyles. And Marvin, when he was traded, was at the bottom of his value ever. And we got a really good rotational piece for it. We just traded Davion Mitchell, who is much better than Marvin Bagley ever was. And we got a guy that everyone's saying, this guy is not even a part of the equation. He's not going to trade. I just think that you gave up two players who can actually play for you, and you traded 2 second-round picks on top of that, and you get a guy who I think Kessler Edwards is the perfect shout. I think this is just going to be a situational player, might play 40 games, might play 50 games, but you cleared space. Congratulations. I hope you do something with it. I really do, and I think they could be better for it. I just don't think that that's justification for making a bad trade.
I think
Go ahead.
overall we've seen them be pretty calculated and patient, and I would bet that we see something pretty quick on Sunday.
I would
That
guess
they're
that they
doing
didn't
this,
want to
that
do
they
this.
have
Yeah.
it. They already know in mind what the next move is, would be my guess.
Yeah.
I don't think you just do this and then it's like, all right, now we got space. Let's figure out what to do with it.
Right.
I bet they've already had
I would
conversations,
hope so.
as much as you're allowed to, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody, I mean, they're not really talking to anybody.
Right.
League
Right.
year starts on Sunday.
Yeah, yeah, but I would imagine that this is made with another move in mind that could happen pretty quick on Sunday.
And by the way, we talk about how important this time period is, and when news breaks like this, we just got word from the big boss. Just got word from Simone as well. Normally, if you've been listening to this show for a while, normally we would go to break here, but we're powering through because we want to keep this conversation going. We want to keep everybody locked in. 916-339-1140. But let me ask you this, Chris, as Brenden has basically put out there that he's hearing whispers about Najee Marshall. If ultimately you get Najee Marshall,
Yeah.
are you okay with all this?
It helps. It definitely helps soften the blow for sure. And I think that it helps, but I still think it's a bad trade. I mean, I still think that you could have used Davion or Sasha to get that other deal done, especially now that you've traded 13 as well. To me, I would think that Davion has somewhere near late first round pick value. Maybe it's early second. Maybe I'm completely off on that now, especially looking at it now. But I just feel like it would make me feel better, but that's not where we're at right now. And so, when it happens, and like I said at the start, I think that this is a move that might make the Kings better in the long run, but I just don't think that necessarily means that this was the best deal that they could have gotten for this package.
It's also like a matter of assets. I think that, to your point,
They don't have money,
Davion
yeah.
from a financial standpoint, and the fact that he is still young and someone that can, we've seen crazier things happen as far as players turn around.
Oh yeah.
That makes it a little tougher to swallow for sure, because
Yeah.
I personally did not also envision Davion in a deal quite like this. I thought in a deal for a larger name, if you have your Harrison and your
Yes, exactly.
Herder Corolla package.
Yep.
Adding Davion to that, I think, is enticing if you don't want to part with the first round pick.
That was
Are
my
there
exact thought.
Are there teams that would want to take a flyer? Because again, the Kings' future first round pick could be a 20, 25, whatever they fall range. I'm guessing maybe other teams, or maybe not Toronto in this case, didn't view it the same way. But no, I definitely get your point, and that does make it a little tougher to swallow. But like you said, this all is better and can be made better if they do go make that next move. You have to make that next move, and it has to count. It has to be notable. I mean, we all know that the Kings have to make a notable move this summer, but if there's 2 assets off the board,
Yes.
and 2 salary fillers off the board, there's not really much else left outside of Herder and Barnes right now.
So they make this trade and they go get Najee Marshall and they draft Devin Carter. I know you guys have been listening to the show. If they don't make a quote unquote big move this offseason, I have to eat a Carolina Reaper. So let's say,
Nice.
yes,
He's
and I'm doing it on air.
voluntarily signed
I'll
up.
join you for fun.
Oh, well, you can come on and Chris
Sure.
made me do it.
I'll
I'm
watch
down
it.
to try it.
Chris
I'll
said,
watch it.
Alan, you
I'll
have to
film
do
it.
We
that.
got milk ready. Yeah.
So
Like a
let's
Hot
say
Ones
that's
interview.
it. You get Najee Marshall and you drafted Devin Carter and everybody else, we running it back. Should I be eating a Carolina Reaper?
No.
I think so.
I think
Well,
I should.
I think you should in
One
general.
bite.
I think you should in general.
One
no,
bite.
definitely.
one bite of it.
Oh no,
That-
definitely. You
that-
take that whole thing.
I don't think that's enough to compete, guys. We're
No,
hearing
it's
rumblings about
not.
Paul George.
Well, and I think that is also part of this is that you're clearing up under the new CBA. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but essentially the matching salary is a little bit of a wider range that you can it takes less to match, that you could throw in some salaries and take back more than you previously could.
Right.
But it also depends on your cap situation. And when they're $4 million under the first apron, they're not going to want to do a trade that would then take them above that apron mark. So this also could be, rather than the MLE, opening up more flexibility so that way you are more comfortable taking
on
back
salary.
more than you're sending out in a future deal, a la Paul George, whatever it may be.
Look, you guys are
These
the
are all what
insiders.
ifs too. Yeah.
They are.
But Chris,
Yeah.
this is how I felt yesterday about the draft, right? This is how you feel now. It's the move before the move. When the draft was made and there were 18 guards on the roster, I thought this doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And Monty answered the call in a way.
Yes.
He answered the
Right.
call, and Davion Mitchell is now gone. That was the most clashy of the guards with Devin Carter and Davion Mitchell. Okay, so it's getting piecemeal together more than I think we see with other teams. And I guess you could use the word methodical. And I guess it's just, again, it's waiting and seeing to waiting and seeing to waiting and seeing. And you got to think at some point the big move is going to happen.
Yeah.
We just don't know when.
Yeah, and we've seen the reports out there. I mean, Sam Amick was on with Dave and Jason this morning saying that just because the draft's over doesn't mean that this situation's
Right.
over with the Kings.
Yep.
And we also saw other sources out there from Matt Moore. Matt Moore's been on it, I think, a lot so far this year. He said the same thing, that the Kings are still pushing that package of Herter and Barnes. I feel like maybe it'll be a matter of, hopefully not like today where they might have to settle and take what they can get. But I mean, you hope that the Cam Johnsons, the Kyle Kuzmas, what have you, there's got to be someone else that can come in here and take one of those guards away and bring in a four. Because right now, the Kings have, I think, one center on the roster. I think, 3 forwards, Barnes and Lyles and Keegan. Like now I guess McDaniels, but there's going to be more moves. This is not the roster that's going to enter opening night. It's just a matter of, can they make that next move that's going to push them from being a play-in contender to a perennial playoff team. They need to make that move that's going to put them into that area. And was this the move? No. Going to get them one step closer? You hope so, but also it kind of has to, because if that doesn't happen this year, I mean, Monte McNair's job, we're talking about hot seat for sure, but this is the time to make those moves. It's been 2 years since they made the last notable addition. I think that bringing in McDaniels actually is the first.
It is.
I mean, him and
Except
Philip
Duarte.
and
right.
Philip Petrusov, like those are the kinds of guys that they've brought in over the past 2 years.
Shout Phillip.
Mason Jones.
Retaining Malik, that's a win for the offseason so far for less money. Detroit was going to give more money. We know that's out there now. Orlando would have been lurking if Klay Thompson didn't come there. Now, who is that player you're going to bring in? That's the next question. And if this deal makes that possible, it makes this trade a win in my book as well.
From the 916, let Monty cook
I
in
hope so.
all caps. Cook in all caps.
You're texting
I
the text
think-
on yourself now.
I thought it was you.
I think part of that is like, how much do you have faith in Monty? I feel like if you look back at his previous moves, and I know it's mainly that one off season, that they've worked out. You know, the Tyrese for Domas thing, obviously a little bit polarizing and could look different in the future, but I think that's for the most part worked out. Being able to move Bagley for Trey Lyles. I forget exactly how they got DiVincenzo. For some reason, I want to say it's part of the same deal.
3-team trade.
Yeah, that's
Three-team trade. Milwaukee, Detroit, Sacramento. I think.
Right. But I feel like you can see the logic in every move that Monty makes. And that makes it easy in my mind to be optimistic and pitch that logic. You know, I'm not necessarily saying that I think this is a great deal, but I'm more so trying to, I see the logic and I appreciate that, because I think there's a lot of front offices where you're like, what is happening right now? And this is one of those moments, but I think that since most of their stuff has made sense to me, that I'm waiting and assuming this is a precursor to something.
Continuing to react to the Kings trading Davion Mitchell and Sasha Vezenkov to Toronto for Jalen McDaniels, and also the 45th pick going to Toronto as well. Guys, thank you so much. The last thing I'll leave you with is, I mean, look, maybe there's something to it. The log jam at guard, okay, maybe that affected it. And you have Sasha, whether they were fake reports or real reports, Sasha wasn't happy. These were two not distressed assets, but not far from it. Maybe that affected their value. I guess we'll never know, or we kind of do know because of who we got back. Coming up next, we continue the conversation, opening back up the phone lines, 916-339-1140, reacting to the